Sit down, strap in, and Granny put your teeth in your pocket. Lead Lap Radio powered by HMS Motorsport, the leader in motorsport safety, starts now.
Hello, everyone. We are back for another Lead Lap edition and episode, whatever you'd like to call it, from the Race Chaser studio in Mooresville, North Carolina, and also the home of Performance Motorsports Network, where we broadcast this show live each and every Monday night at 7 Eastern. My name is Tom Baker. Next to me at the table here inside the studios, Jacob Seelman. And next to Jacob is Randy Miller at the head of the table. Jacob from Speed Sport, Randy from the Inside Pass show, which is live on Spreaker each Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And looking forward to that. Who's on the show?
Well, we were supposed to have Ty Majeski, but apparently Ty is busy this weekend. So
he's going to be on his way, if not already in Chicago, because the ARCA race is Thursday night.
That's right. So
that's a pretty good excuse.
Stand by for a replacement.
Okay, so we're working on a relief driver for Ty for the show on Wednesday night.
I mean, let's be fair.
Hitter.
Let's be fair, though, and I actually like this discussion to open the show because why not? Ty Majeski has had a bit of a career resurgence this year prior to his 25th birthday, because who would have thought he's looking for his third ARCA win of the year in a limited schedule, at the end of June, at the end of June.
I was going to say, don't doubt yourself. It's the end of June.
It's the end of June. I mean,
don't forget.
A year ago, we were basically chalking him up as, basically being.
You might have been.
About done because he was having such a miserable year in the Roush Fenway car, and when that dried up, then we really thought he was kind of done, and now he's come back and said, hey, don't forget about me.
And he won the Trickle 99 this past weekend.
Yes,
he did. That race that Johnny Sauter attempted to compete in.
That's correct. And Chad Bryant Racing is the benefactor of Ty's resurgence, because that's who he races for. Indeed. And it's good to see them finally getting on top of things. And so, by the way, we also have two guests on the show this evening. We are going to talk with a couple of Southeast racers. Bobby McCarty, otherwise known as Bobby Mac, one of the top late model racers in this part of the country, runs the Cars Tour primarily now. And he'll be on at 7:30 to talk to us. And you'll enjoy Bobby. He's got some interesting insight as to the status of late model racing and what he feels it needs to happen to improve it in this area. So he'll talk to us about that, among other things. And then shortly after that, we will also have Mason Diaz, who ended up being Bobby's teammate this weekend with Nelson Motorsports on the Cars Tour. Bobby finishing second. Mason ran well enough to finish up there, but ended up getting collected in an incident that I blame fully on the Cars Tour. It was a track condition related deal. We'll get to that later. And of course, I don't want to leave out the fact that Chris Murdoch, who was with me at the Cars Tour race over the weekend, is over there in the tech shed punching all the audio and video buttons to keep us on the air. So we'll talk Cars Tour later.
Well, I'd just like to note on that subject that this may be the first time in my memory that I can think of Mason running a major late model race not in a Mike Darn racing car. He's been with Darn for about as long as I can remember, so to see him in the Nelson car over the weekend was a little bit that took a while to wrap my brain around, to say the least.
Well, he's had a good relationship with the folks from Solid Rock Carriers, who are big sponsors of that team. So I think there was some sort of deal struck there to put him in the 12 car that is a team car to McCarty's Double Deuce. So
things that hit social today that really raised my eyebrows and that I'm going to spend much fun digging into after the show tonight, by the way.
Okay.
Do tell.
Yes. And thank you, Dirty Mo Media, for dropping it a little earlier than normal. The latest Dale Jr. download hit today.
Okay.
And he brought his sister on.
Kelly. Chris was telling me about this a few minutes ago.
I'm so much looking forward to digging into that, because I can only begin to imagine the stories that those two finally let hit the fan with that one. And anybody within a 500-mile radius, I'm sure, was probably running the other direction. But
Well,
it's great.
The thing for me with, and I said this to Chris, the thing for me that I love about Dale Jr. Download isn't the fact that it's Dale Jr. necessarily. It's the fact that it's Dale Jr. talking about life and having other people on to tell stories. They're not talking
Right.
about the latest cup race or whatever.
Sometimes they do, depending on the guest.
But it's more a function of some sort of topic about that race. It isn't just reviewing the race and saying what they thought.
Well, and you
know,
look at
there's
who
usually-
you look at who he's had on lately. He had Stone Cold on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't.
I really hope his next guest is good old DW.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Ross Chastain supposed to be on there in a couple of weeks?
Wouldn't be surprised.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he is.
I'm trying to
I think
remember.
it's the next week or the week after.
I'm trying
but
to
I'm pretty
remember
sure
what
he is.
Ross was on today. Something he was on
He
one
was
of
on
the Sirius
something,
XMs today.
He was on something today.
Well, so I love that. So him and Kelly, I'm sure it will be very
Enlightening.
personal, and
Uh-huh.
and you'll hear a lot about them growing up and
Yes.
their relationship, which is much more fun than hearing them talk about
Well,
Junior Motorsports.
I
for example.
think my two favorite bullets in the post that he put out on Twitter a little while ago were the first one and the last one. Easy for me to say. Daredevil Kelly. I know. And redneck life hacks.
Okay.
And in this part of the country, I can say that last
See,
one.
redneck
yeah.
life hacks. See, that would be something I would expect to hear Dale Jr.
Right?
talk about on the Dale Jr.
That could be a
Download.
whole other podcast of its own.
Probably.
Exactly. Let's start that. Redneck life hacks.
Redneck life hacks.
We can. I mean, we've got
How-
a huge population.
Hang
to
on a
interview
minute.
down here.
How would we pull that off? You've got a New Yorker, a transplanted Michigander, and a
I'm Texan, so I'm probably the closest one.
Yeah,
Well, Chris
he's
is
the
from
clo-
Ohio, but that has nothing to do with anything. There's rednecks in every state, number one. And number two, it isn't about us. It's about us going and interviewing rednecks who give us life hacks.
Fair enough.
Zip ties and duct tape.
You know,
There
that's,
you go.
that's
Podcast over.
I learned.
Duct tape
That's a
can
wrap.
fix everything.
I learned that in band class, Randy.
Oh,
Come on.
exactly.
yeah,
I
that's
know.
right. Yeah.
Just saying.
As a former bandy, I can.
And if
attest
those
to
who
that.
don't work, chewing gum does too.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
amazing what you can do.
He's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he's not wrong. That's correct. Okay, so
There's your Redneck Life Hacks podcast for the week.
Ross did a thing
Ross did a thing.
over the weekend.
Hashtag redemption. Also, hashtag the Melon Man Challenge is back on again.
Well, and see, I mean, honestly, either of you two, jump in, Chris, any of you three. Is anybody here surprised that he went out and won this
I
race?
said it last week.
I think we all
stood
knew that
by
was
it.
going to happen.
You know what, though?
I called. I was the only one that called that he would win both races. I'm wrong on a technicality, but he still did it.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the crazy thing is, though, about this win is when you look at the highlights of the race and you see how hard he was driving through the field, it's like a completely different situation. Like, you can tell the determination in the team, but you can just see the way he's driving. He was determined to win that race.
I think we were talking about this last week, and I think it was you, Tom, that looked at me and said, "I don't believe he's gonna." And I said, "I'll tell you, I told you so."
No,
when he does,
it wasn't me because I called that win, and it's the whole thing. About you were the one that said you didn't think that he could win both. A and B.
we were just talking. We were just talking about Gateway specifically.
What I said was that I think the momentum is on his side, and he's going to drive as one pissed off SOB. I don't think I said it that way on the air last week, but he was going to drive like a man possessed because
He
will
did.
feel, and he did. And that's what Randy was referring to.
The fact that he held off the field on 80-lap old tires is that is so Ross Chastain. It's not even funny.
Well, and that's.
I'll add, by the way, that Sam Mayer should have done, should have been applauded for the same thing in the Gateway ARCA race until Ty Gibbs happened on the last lap. But that's a story for later.
I don't think I've seen that hard of driving since Kyle Busch was in the Truck Series earlier this year. Like, as far as somebody that, is determined to go out there and beat up the field. I mean, he didn't do that, but, I mean, the way he was driving would indicate otherwise.
That's what we've been saying about Ross all along, though. I mean, the guy is way better than where he's at. He is definitely a driver that, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be in a winning Cup ride next year. Now, whether he gets there or not is a different matter. But if I'm an elite Cup Series team owner and I can possibly make that happen, he's number one on my list.
Okay.
Over everybody else.
I understand that. However, let me play devil's advocate in the same token.
Okay.
In the same token, how can you not love what he's doing right now with trying to build Nice Motorsports from a team that I don't think anybody ever would have given a chance, a team that was just trying to survive a year ago,
well, of course
into a bona fide title contender? You've got to love that
Overnight.
story.
Of course.
Overnight,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I absolutely love every minute of that. In some ways, I feel like it's even a better chapter than what we saw Brett Moffitt do with Hattori a year ago.
Oh, I think it's way better. Hattori was a good team before Brett got there. Nice was not a good team before Ross got there.
Correct.
Let's be honest here. But GMS technical support,
It helps.
a veteran from Chevy overseeing all of the stuff in shop. I mean,
And Phil Gould is a crew
Phil
chief.
Gould. I mean, they brought in some other acquisitions.
Yeah.
As much as I really love to brag on Ross, you can't just give Ross all the credit.
Oh, not at all. No. I put Phil Gould in the same crew chiefing category as I do Scott Zipadelli and Rudy Fugle
Yes,
right now.
I agree.
Those three are the three
Yep.
elite crew chiefs in the truck series right now.
Well, and again, somebody asked me over the weekend, okay, so now that Ross has won 3 races, do you think that, he wins the championship? I said the road to the championship goes through Ross Chastain, period.
You're darn right it does.
Period. Because he's been the most consistent of any truck in that entire series this year.
If not for the DQ, he'd still be the only driver this season to be top 10 in every race. And
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, he's still the only driver to be top 10 in every
Yes.
race, just on a technicality.
We're just getting started. Back with more of Lead Lap Radio presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, right after this.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more, but the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives and so should you.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
Hi, I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, Randy Miller, Chris Murdoch, otherwise known as the modern version of the Fab Four, even if I don't have any hair. We are talking motorsports, and I gotta say, you got some stats out there.
Don't look at me. You're the stat guy.
But I'm going to throw you off for a minute because I'm gonna.
Well, I wasn't gonna go to my stat sheet. I was just looking for subjects to talk about in here.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna because I want to talk more about the truck deal. But
yes. I just have my truck points up so that I can jog my brain for things I want to talk about.
But before we do that, I want to, because Tyler Reddick brought us back.
Yes.
And I want to throw out there, because it's fun, even if, I think it's fake news. Saw an interesting rumor on social media today that talked about the potential for Richard Petty Motorsports and Richard Childress Racing to make, in some way, shape, or form, their partnership more official and tie themselves together in such a manner as that there would become now, instead of a third Childress car, there would be two cars out of the RPM stable that would put Tyler Reddick in the second car with the charter that Petty is getting back from, I'm going to draw a blank. Rick Ware, thank you. That they had out there. And there would now be a two-car team of Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick in the Petty stable.
The 3 and the 8.
And then the 3 and the 8 at Childress. But all of the cars would basically be Childress cars.
Oh, so basically we're imagining that RPM and RCR are doing the same thing that the Wood Brothers and Team Penske are doing right now. Sorry.
I just think it's funny that since Richard Petty is struggling right now, that every rumor ever created includes Richard Petty in some form or fashion.
Well, and that's partially...
it's going to be talked about.
That's partially why I brought this up.
By the way, my response to that rumor is, because that worked so well when you merged with Evernham the first time.
Well, it did for a little while. They did run well for a little while.
For about that long.
But I think the first question when I saw this is, you look at the source and it was not, a major media source, but I thought, well, okay, but let's just sort of look at it for what it is and think about it for a second. Okay, Petty Motorsports, not to say Enterprises, Petty Motorsports does have a second charter that they have to take back
and use
from Rick
next
Ware
year.
And use in some form or fashion.
Or they have to sell it.
Yes. They have to sell that one or the other one?
No, you take it back and you either use it or you sell it.
Okay. So they have an extra charter is what I'm saying. So, okay, we could, in fact, add a car that would be a chartered car if we wished and had the ability and resources to do that. So there's number one. Then I said, why would Richard Childress want to do this instead of putting a third car on the track? And then I thought, well, he would need a charter if he wanted to have, he doesn't have a third charter anymore. So he would need a charter if he wanted to put a third car on the track with a charter. And so instead of him having a charter and Petty having a charter, or Childress having to buy a charter and Petty having a charter, why wouldn't you just have a second car over there with that charter and put Tyler in it and basically make it a Childress car.
In a way, I feel like if you do this right, it actually saves Richard a little bit of money doing it that way.
Well,
how many years does Jimmy Johnson have left on his contract?
1.
So he's out at 2020?
At least his contract is up at 2020. We don't know for sure that he's out.
So his contract is up at the end of the
sorry. Yes, his contract is up at the end of 2020. Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to think about that.
Okay, so I was just wondering, because I was going to say if it was up at the end of 2019, I say Tyler Reddick puts in the 48. But
I don't think that's going to happen.
Richard Childress has been adamant that Tyler Reddick is the future of that operation.
Well,
aside
part
from
of the
future, yeah.
So I'm looking at this going, well, this is kind of interesting, and I had the same thought you did. This may be less costly for Childress to do this way, and the benefit that you get out of that is that you now have basically 4 cars, in the stable, and they're all the same cars and all the same. So what's the downfall? But then I got thinking, why wouldn't Childress just buy the charter from Petty and put Tyler Reddick in the 31 like he was going to? So I think this is kind of interesting, though, because
it is interesting.
Certainly could help Richard Petty Motorsports.
Oh, easily.
Now, could I see Tyler Reddick replacing Bubba in the 43 under a similar scenario? No, because I don't believe that they're going to get rid of Bubba, and I think Worldwide Technologies loves Bubba.
Yes.
Either way, it still helps Petty because either he sells it and makes money, or he gets a new car and runs better.
Right. And so I looked at that and I thought, well, this is one of those times when I don't know if there's actually any truth to it, but it could be a viable situation.
But how does that affect the other rumor of Petty going to Honda?
Well,
I don't buy that.
Well, but I still am hearing that Honda's coming in with Michael Andretti, but I'm now hearing within the next 5 years instead of,
So it was never really a thing.
So I don't know that it might have been a discussion at some point. I mean, I'm sure there was probably some conversation. I don't think it was something that somebody just made up out of thin air. But, Honda just may not be able to put things together in time to do it in 21. So now if you're RPM, you're looking at other ways to go about, elevating yourself. And maybe you find Richard Childress, because I actually thought that was more or less what they were going to do to begin with. I thought that all of them were going to be Childress cars. I thought it was basically going to be like the 21 and the Penske team, and it never really quite got to that point, I don't think. So I could easily see something working out in that vein and have it make sense.
But is it a good idea, though, for RPM to have 2 cars when their first car isn't even performing right?
Well, but if the second car if it's all kind of Childress stuff,
yeah, I see.
Then you figure that it elevates the performance of both cars.
Maybe, but they're obviously.
In other words, if RPM is basically just more or less a name on, and it's more like you said, like Jacob said, it would be the same as the Wood Brothers with Penske stuff. You elevate your technology tremendously.
Yeah.
So everything runs better.
Even when you have a situation where you have a satellite team or a secondary team, the secondary team isn't going to get the best equipment.
Well,
we see with the Wood Brothers. I mean, even it could be Menard. I don't know, but the 21 car doesn't perform quite the same way the other 3 Penske cars do.
As soon as Blaney left,
it could be Menard.
It could be Menard. I'm going to say it's Menard just because, but
because
Blaney did okay.
Not meaning disrespect to Paul Menard.
So does that mean we'd see what we see with Penske and Wood Brothers, in that Petty and RCR move into the same shop?
They're already in the same shop, basically. They're on the same plot of land.
On the same plot of land, but they're not in the exact same shop. And it's not, I don't believe it's all Childress stuff. I don't think it's all one sort of whole, operation like that.
It's like having a guest house on your property.
So basically, that's a good point.
That was so kind of out of left field that it is right.
They're on a corner on a plot of land on Childress's property. So I think this is, and I'll tell you what, if even if there was and there had never been a discussion about this, if I'm RCR and RPM and I see this, I'm kind of looking at this going, this guy's smoking something, but you know what? Well, why don't we talk about this? Because honestly, I think there could be some. Look, Reddick's bringing funding one way or another. You know that's going to happen.
Duh.
So I mean, it's not a funding issue, and I do think that if somehow the current 43 team could elevate themselves to Childress cars and have everything being prepared as if as equal to the 3 and the 8. And the 31 or
see,
maybe
I would love to buy this, and then as an added extra to the rumor, we see Kaz Grala move into the 2 car.
That would be fun.
In the
oh, you
Xfinity
mean in
series.
the Xfinity? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
I knew what he meant.
Yeah. Well, so it just took me a second.
Had to take a second.
Yeah.
to figure out.
Yeah, I would. Well, and see that would all be dependent on funding too. Kaz, I think, would be full time easily enough. I think they'd like to have him. I think a lot of people would like to have Kaz. I think Kaz has proven himself capable, but he just doesn't have the funding to go sort of pay for the ride. So it has to be somebody that already has funding that just drops him in the car.
Well,
and either way, I think that 2 car is going to be available next year because I think
think
Tyler's
about
going up.
resources too, because we talked about last year with RCR. They put everything out there. They scaled back this year,
Right.
and the performance is better. So now, why would you subject yourself to going out and adding essentially 2 more cars to your stable, having to outsource more resources and get more people involved? When your cars are doing good now, why would you?
If you had the funding to do it with, though, you're basically saying, okay, we're just going to build more chassis. Because that's really what, at the cup level, that's what it amounts to. Reddick is his own sponsor, pretty much. I mean, there's an opportunity there, I think, to pull this off. And I think it elevates the marketability of the 43 team if it were to happen. Again, we have no idea if there's any truth to that. It's just fun to think about these things. And I could see where that one could be viable. And yes, the 2 is going to be available. And I would love to see Kaz Grala get a shot at it. You wonder who would be. Because I said that if Petty ever went by the wayside, I was thinking Bubba would end up in it. Somehow.
Wouldn't that be better for his career to go back and do something and kind of essentially start over?
I don't know.
I mean,
it's always one of those 6 of one, half a dozen of the
I've
other.
always said if you can be in a race-winning and championship-winning ride, even if it's down a level, it's better than being in a mediocre ride at the top level.
Personally, I'd just rather see something happen that elevates the 43 team to get them back competitive.
I don't disagree with that.
That would be my hope. But anyways, we'll take a break. When we come back, Bobby Mack going to join us. We're going to talk some late models, some cars tour, and have ourselves a good time. You're listening to Lead Lap Radio or watching Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. We will be right back.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves a majority of NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schubert helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Olero fireproof underwear, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the staff at HMS is always ready to take the time and help you find the right product for your specific safety needs. You have family and friends who care about you, so don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Just stop in to HMS Motorsport, visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com, or send them a message on Facebook. Tell them the folks from Race Chaser Media sent you.
What an awesome game. What's up with your car? I don't know. It won't start. How are we getting home? Chill. My parents signed me up for the roadside assistance from Lewis Meineke. It was free with my oil change. They'd come and get the car started or get us home and tow the car to the shop.
Good to know. With my driving, my parents never know what to expect.
When you join the Meineke Car Care Club with a $35 preferred service, you get 4 free months of roadside assistance, including tire change, battery jump, lockout service, towing, and more. Contact Lewis Meineke, located on Route 1, or call 827-2054.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Hi, I'm John Holloman, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. And if we have time on this show, I'm going to talk about something that happened over the weekend as an illustration of why everybody should be looking up HMS Motorsport and really getting their collective act together in terms of their safety.
You can find several examples of
I know
how to get
where
it.
you're going with this.
Yeah, and the driver that I'm going to talk about, if we have time, did have the proper and still. So it's even more of an illustration of what would have happened.
A couple of crashes over the weekend that we can talk about.
Exactly. So at any rate, we have a guest with us on the strutmasters.com hotline right now. It is Bobby McCarty, and I am really happy we finally have got Bobby Mack on the program with us. We've been trying to do this for a little while, and finally we're able to put it together. Bobby, welcome to Lead Lap Radio. Happy to have you on. And, man, congrats. I didn't get to talk to you after the race the other night, but congrats on a fantastic run. I know you'd rather win than finish second, but that was still a great race.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on. I really appreciate it. Yeah, second wasn't much to complain about, but definitely not a win. Definitely need to do a little bit more homework, but for the first time seeing the place, first time racing there, the second and a pole, you really can't complain about it so much. So we'll take it.
What were your impressions of Dominion Raceway? Because I've talked to several drivers, and I kind of get mixed reaction, not between negative and positive, but just different things about it that they seem to sort of pick out as, what they talk about when I ask them the question. What was your impression of the track and what they've got going on up there?
The track is super fast, and it's super smooth. Which are two cool things to really lay down some quick lap times and to hit faster speeds than we're used to. But they got a pretty cool layout with the road course, and we got to watch some drift racing Friday and Saturday before we went to the track, and then Friday night they was doing a test and tune, like a 8-mile drag strip kind of deal, where they had all kinds of cars out there. So it's a really cool place. They got a lot of things going on there, especially in one weekend. There was just I went to leave Friday night to go get dinner, and I come real close to staying to watch the testing too, because they had four-wheelers and all kinds of stuff out there. I about stayed, but really cool place. They got a lot of things going on. It's a nice facility. It was definitely interesting. It's one of probably the to put it in comparison, it's probably the closest as far as on the throttle time for tracks that we go to Bristol. Bristol, we barely let off, and at that place, you're on the track about 85% of the time. You're on the throttle about 85% of the time. So, very fast track, very smooth track. Tire wear is not really that big of a deal. So, you just go out there and lay them down, see how long you can hold on.
Well, you've definitely got you're off to a fairly decent start this year. I know you've had, some bad luck here and there and had some situations, but for the most part, you're having a pretty good season. And certainly this past race was a really, really good one for both you and your teammate, Mason Diaz, who we'll talk to shortly here. Mason's result didn't end well because he got caught in a crash, but you both were really fast, and I think both of you would have been right there running for the win with Josh had Mason been able to finish.
Yeah, our team's been doing really good lately. We've been putting really fast cars on the track, and we've been contending for wins, which is always a good thing. It's unfortunate for Mason. Been watching that kid run a couple of different races here lately, and he just seems like he's got a monkey on his back he can't get off. But, definitely proud of everybody at Nelson Motorsports. We've been building some fast cars lately, and
no doubt.
We just gotta put everything together. We kind of been slacking a little bit, and we kind of got off a little bit towards the end of the race there at Dominion. We started and the sun was out and the track temp was really hot, and with the red flags and adding fuel and everything else that went on, we lost the balance a little bit and couldn't roll center like we needed to. So we lost a little balance there. I felt like Josh's car was a little bit freer than ours, and when the track cooled off, and everything just kind of played out for him, and we started out really good, and then the track cooled off. We just got a little too tight. So definitely a good weekend for us, but and we've had about a run now, four weekends that we've been very strong. So definitely looking to continue the success this weekend at South Boston with the first leg of the Triple Crown, and we just got to keep working, man. You can't stay stagnant in this deal, and you gotta keep your chin up and roll your sleeves up and just go to work.
Bobby, how has this year for you been different in the wake of being the defending champion and kind of some of the things that come with that, maybe representing the sport in a different, or you being viewed in a different light than you might have before you won the championship?
I feel like in ways, yes. But I really try not to focus on things like that. I heard a guy I looked up to a lot a couple years ago at South Boston, Philip Morris. He won a race, and I think it was his 26th win of the season. And the guy interviewing asked him about that, and he said he don't think about past races or past wins or past championships. He's always looking for the next one, and he enjoys the wins when they happen. But when the sun comes up the next day, he's back to work, and that's kind of the mentality I picked up. We definitely want to enjoy our wins and our championships and the success we have, but at the same time, with the way this series is very tight. We've seen that kind of every race this year in the Cars Tour. There's been 6 different winners in 7 races. Qualifying, you can be a 10th off and the pole and start 15th or 16th, which is very, very tight. And you just gotta keep focused on what you're doing and not get caught up in the other things like the points and what you have done, and just really stay focused on what you're wanting to do and things you're wanting to accomplish. And like I said, just keep your head down and keep working.
That was going to be the next thing I wanted to touch on, actually, and you started to there. What kind of a testament is it for where this series is at right now that you've had 6 different winners and Josh finally becomes the first driver to repeat a victory here, end of June, 7th race of the season?
Yeah, it's really cool to be a part of. I feel like with the Cars Tour, at any given time, there's 16 cars at any race that could win, and just wouldn't be a surprise. It would make sense. And as far as in this division at local tracks and even the Triple Crown, I feel in the Triple Crown there's probably 12 or 13 that can win. But the car store just really they have a good thing going. The payout's really good. They treat the competitors really good, and they make consistent calls week in and week out. And Chris Regal and Jack and their whole crew, they do a great job of putting on a good series for us and treating us right. And their teching is on point, and they keep everybody straight. And I think that's what really makes everything kind of come together. As far as putting on competitive shows and being so tight in qualifying. They do a really good job. And this year, I'd like to say it's cool that there's been so many different winners, but it kind of sucks because I wanted to win them all. So I need to go to work. We gotta find some speed, but it's a cool deal, man. The car store really is. You get to go to all these different places, and in the last 2 years, there's a lot of these tracks that I've never seen before, and a couple of them we won at our first time, and it's a good deal for everybody involved.
I asked you this on Saturday when I saw you, and I want to talk about it here because I love the answer that you gave. I was very intrigued by it. The question that I asked you was, what is your perspective? What is your take on the state of late model racing in general in this region of the country? Because there's been so much sort of back and forth about bodies and motors and rules and different things. What is your opinion about where we're at, and what, if anything, what ideas do you have for improving it?
Well, there's a couple things going on that I really have a hard time agreeing with. I feel like we're going really fast down the straightaways now, very, very fast. And it seems like every year or two we're getting this new engine package, and every new engine package has made us going faster. And I have no problem going faster. I love going faster, but at the same time, we have to combat that in some shape, form, or way. And I just feel like with what we're doing with the engines and how much more power we're making, we got to do something else. And these brakes that we got, man, they're not up to par with the engines, by no means. And this really baffles me. I don't understand it. It's crazy how competitors are. A new engine package gets introduced, and it's $15,000 for the engine package, and they jump right on it, and they're like, yeah, this is a good thing. This is a good thing for everybody. And then you offer the opinion of upgrading the brakes so we can keep brakes under the car. And,
sure.
And some of them lose their mind, and they don't want to do it.
It's
I
amazing.
just think the way it's going, what I'm feeling with the brakes and everything, I think at Martinsville this year, there's a good possibility your front runners are going to run into brake issues because of how fast we're going. And the brakes we have, I don't feel like are designed to withstand this kind of heat. So I just think it's one of those deals where if we don't catch it now, it's going to turn into a train race, because at the end of the race, nobody's going to have brakes left. You're not going to be able to really do anything as far as setting somebody up for a pass because your brake pedal is just not working. So longevity and looking at it at the long run, we need to do something. Either pull the engines back some to go along with the brakes, or upgrade the brakes so we can really use the engines like we need to. So my opinion, everybody thinks different, but I know for a fact some of these tracks we're going to, we're adding about 150 pounds of brake pressure just because we're going so much faster down the straightaway. And like I said, the brakes really just aren't. The calipers on these things, man, they're ancient, to put it nicely. They're very old calipers. It's a design GM made a long time ago, and I think it's just about time. And when we go to Martinsville, we have to upgrade the brakes. We have to buy all new stuff, and depending on what you get, you're spending, a couple grand on brakes. And if we update them and make them better, when you go to Martinsville, that's money you won't have to spend. You know, it's already there. You already have better brakes. So it would cost us a little bit more initially, but in the long run, with the brakes being better, they'd last longer. When we go to places like Martinsville, we wouldn't have to update them. You know, it would be better for us. And then, like I said, places like Martinsville, I think the show would be a lot better. You know, last year we got slapped on the hand after qualifying, and we had to start in the rear in the heat race. And it was a 25-lap heat race, and by the time I got into the top 10, my brake pedal was going to the floor.
Ew.
And we got into the race. We started 38th, I believe it was, and we got to 6th around lap 65, and we was losing brake pedal again. And, you know, it's one of those deals where if you get in that situation and you have to make up for it and you're losing brakes, you know, and you know, we had the best brakes that the rules allow us to have, and it's unfortunate, you know, to have a part failure like that. So something needs to be done. Like I said, either pull the engines back a little bit or go and bite the bullet and upgrade the brakes. But I'm not the guy in charge of that. I just drive the race car, so I do as I'm told.
But it's good feedback, and that's what you told me the other day, and I wanted to just kind of get that out there just for people who are listening or watching to be able to think about and, you know, maybe carry on. Maybe it'll spark some discussion, because I think that's, you know, a very reasonable assessment. Before we let you go, we never like to end an interview without giving the driver a chance to thank those who helped them make it happen. So who all would that be for you, sir?
For this weekend at Dominion, we had a new sponsor come on board with Auto Plus, and a couple of the guys come out there and we took pictures and had a good time, and they seemed very impressed with how everything's went. So definitely got to thank them for coming on board for Dominion for a one race deal. We got Solid Rock Carriers with Kirk Ipock. He come on board this year full time, and he's really helped me out a ton. You know, with everything I have to do. And I got to thank Barry Nelson with Autos by Nelson. He was the guy to give me my first chance in this deal, and greatly appreciative of everything he's done for me. And then we'd have Blue Ridge Color Company, Castrol, AR Bodies, BST Shocks, A&E Chassis, and I think that's it. I always feel like I'm missing somebody. I definitely got to thank all the crew as well. You know, DJ and David Triplett, Marcus Richmond, Timothy Peters, Curtis Martin, Mikey Heisman. Got to thank my mom and my dad for sticking with me this whole time, and I got to thank my wife for dealing with me being gone all the time. It takes a village, man, and I'm very appreciative of everybody who's had a part in making this career for me.
Well, we're happy to be able to finally work it out to get you on, Bobby, and as well as you just did there, we're going to make sure we get you back on again soon. So go win us a race, and we'll have a reason to get you back on and talk a little longer.
Yes, sir. We got the first leg of the Triple Crown this weekend with the 200 at South Boston. I've never won that race, and that's one I'm wanting to check off the bucket list. So we're going all out this weekend. Let's see if we can bring it home.
Go get her done. We'll have you back on next week. That's Bobby McCarty. We're going to step aside for a break. When we come back, a short one. And then our next guest, his teammate, Mason Diaz, will join us shortly as well. More of Lead Lap Radio after this.
Everywhere you go, you hear it and you see it. It's coming at you through your phone, your tablet, and your computer. It's broadcast from your favorite radio station, TV networks, and cable companies. It's in the stadiums, the arenas, the ballparks. It screams for your attention at the mall. It's interactive on Main Street. It's even coming at you from the gas pump at the nearby convenience store. What is it? It's digital content. It's digital content. It's digital content. Somebody has to create it. Somebody has to manage it. So whether your dream is to write it, design it, create it, call it, produce it, voice it, host it, light it, shoot it, switch it, record it, color correct it, edit it, code it, repurpose it, tweet it, blog it, post it, compress it, upload it, replay it, or make sure it gets to where it's got to go when it's got to get there in the format it's got to be in, you need to attend Carolina School of Broadcasting. The skills you will learn, the experience you will get, and the connections you will make at Carolina School of Broadcasting will open the doors to the career you want in digital content creation and digital content management. Call or come by today. Click csbradiotv.edu.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Tyler Dipple, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
He gave me the evil eye.
Jacob, do you want to get involved?
See,
no, why are you moving closer to me? Move.
See, Jacob needs to be careful because otherwise Dippling Jacob will appear.
Yes.
See,
and he gave him plenty of room to put him up there.
The footage is there. All we have to do is just turn it into a, y'all watching the video will see a little Dippling Jacob fading across the screen.
Bite me.
We need to get a bobblehead and just put it right there.
So
that way we can
not
thump him and he can just...
I mean, we could actually have like Dippling Randy, Dippling Jacob, Dippling Tom.
What if we all do it with you?
We could do a Dippling contest and let the people watching vote for who dipples the best.
I can dance or do whatever I want back here, and I don't have a camera, so you guys can't prove that I did anything.
Or we could just get Tyler Dipple in here to judge.
Ha!
He'd probably throw us all out, disqualify us all, though.
Yeah,
but
probably.
then we would make him show us how to do it correctly, and he'd have to do his own dance.
Speaking of objects on the table, can I address what is going on up here? It looks like turn 11 at Sonoma. Like,
it
what?
kind of does.
I know Chris moved it last week, but it looks like it looks like something's about to go down.
Whatever it is,
between those three.
So,
I'll fix
anyways,
it
we got our
turn 11 at Sonoma was interesting on Sunday.
Well,
we'll get to that after.
Yeah.
They're proving our point.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Randy, because I noticed that it wasn't centered toward the camera since the camera's off in the corner, and it's been bugging me.
Yeah, it's been bugging me too. So we'll fix it during the commercial
Chris
break.
can fix it during the break.
Yes.
So we got just a few minutes in this segment, but I wanted to sort of have a little more discussion about the Cars Tour race because it warrants it in between the two drivers who were involved. This race, for me, was not quite as interesting necessarily as some of the earlier ones have been, but there were some real highlights. One was Bobby McCarty in his run. Obviously, Josh Berry to get the win finally. And,
and he takes the points lead back from McCarty with that win, too.
Yep. But I'll be honest. I thought the story of this race was Minnie Tyrell. Finishing in fourth. And let me assure you, he earned that finish. It wasn't hey, I started up here, therefore I finished up here. He, at one point, had Josh Berry passed for second early in the race, and the caution came out right after he made the move, so he had to go back. He made both Josh and McCarty earn what they got.
Yes.
And, he kept a good distance between himself and Brandon Pierce at the end. He was that team is an underfunded team, and Minnie obviously has less experience with the full-size late models than in terms of in actual late model stock trim at these tracks than most of the other guys do.
Right.
Boy, he made it work.
He certainly did, and I feel like we've kind of been waiting for a run like that out of Minnie because he's needed kind of that moment where everything clicks, and I felt like we saw that moment where everything started to click on Saturday night at Dominion, and appropriate that it comes there because it's a track he's, as he referenced when we had him on the show, it's not a track he's had big car experience on, but it's at least a track that he's had laps on in the past.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe some level of comfort there aided in that, and this will do a ton to raise his confidence as a young driver going forward. And I would think that this is the start of a run to close the season. The only bad part is now we've got almost a month before the next Cars Tour race.
Well, but yeah, that is bad because everybody cools off. But
right.
Going into the next race is actually a good thing momentum-wise for Minnie because he goes to Carteret County, which he loves. This is a 14-year-old who's going to go in there really, really confident now that, okay, I've got a race car that can run up front. I can run up front. I know that not because I have faith, but because I did it. And that can be a corner-turning, moment, that he had at Dominion. And Brandon Butler and the entire team just did a great job on that 81 car. Really happy for them to get that finish. And again, as we mentioned, Brandon Pierce having a good run as well. This was a good race. 5th to 8th had a lot of different comers and goers in it. Mm-hmm. And what Bobby said about the track, I mean, it really is true. It is a big, bad, fast track.
Yes. I've never been there, but I look forward to hopefully being able to get to go there before the end of the year. And everything I've heard has just been, it makes me want to go there and see it because I've seen video of it, and I can understand how it can be intimidating to a driver who maybe hasn't raced there before.
Well, and it's a beautiful facility, as he said, too. Interestingly enough, he was talking about the drivers on the road course doing the drifting.
Ooh, fun.
Sent somebody to the hospital on Friday.
That's not fun.
In a helicopter.
That's really not fun.
Car rolled and caught fire, apparently. It was not good. He's going to have a long road to recovery. And then I think they had another fire on Saturday there. Some of that is just people have to be smarter about what cars they bring and the safety and all that. But
I'm gonna allude to the point that you alluded to a little bit earlier that I feel like we ought to talk about before the end of the show because. It happened at your home track. I know you want to get to this before the end of the show, the crash that happened up at Oswego over the weekend.
I think the lightning round somewhere or maybe before that. But, we'll talk about that because a lot of lessons can be learned there. Mm-hmm. We're going to step aside just for a couple moments. When we come back, our second guest, Mason Diaz, will be with us. We've still got IndyCar F1, drag racing, and other things to talk about, including what happened on Saturday night at Oswego. So we'll get to all of that here momentarily. You are watching/listening to Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. Find them on the web, please, everyone, at hmsmotorsport.com. Back with more in a moment.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up! You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem, and no excuses, because it's not rocket science, it's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu, that's mycomputercareer.edu.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication. But it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hi, I'm Timmy Salmito, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. Also want to pay a nod to mycomputercareer.edu, training for a better life, and we'll talk about them a little bit later on in the broadcast. We do have our second guest of the evening ready to go full throttle with us here on Lead Lap Radio, and it is Mason Diaz. And glad to have Mason on. I don't think we've had Mason on our show, at least not in a while. So
no, it's at the very least, it's been a while.
It's been a while, but either way, we're happy to have you, Mason, and glad that we could dial you up on the strutmasters.com hotline here and talk with you for a bit. I know that Saturday night didn't end as well as you had hoped, but boy, you were fast.
Yeah, this weekend was not the best weekend of my life at a racetrack, but it was definitely one to remember by because my Nelson Motorsports team worked nonstop to get our car fast the whole entire time, and they worked tremendously to get it on front, and we were fast the whole entire weekend.
Now, I'll ask you the same question I asked Bobby, because I asked a number of the drivers on Saturday this question as well and got so many different answers that it's interesting for me to add yours to the list. What is your impression of Dominion Raceway? Because I've gotten all kinds of different answers about what stuck out to them the most about their experience there. What's yours?
Well, it wasn't my first time racing at this track. I raced late model stock there 3 or 4 times last year, within the past 2 years, and I actually won the very first race ever at the racetrack in West.
Oh, nice. Wow.
So I raced there. I had a past experience racing there. It's the closest track to my home, but I count my home track as National Motorsports Park, obviously. But it's the closest track to my home, and so a lot of family and friends come down and support me. But the biggest part about it, like what Bobby said, is the speed. The speed there is tremendously faster than any other racetrack we go to, other than what he said, Bristol. And I have not raced Bristol in late model stock car. I raced a K&N car. But the speeds there at Dominion are tremendously faster than anywhere else I've been late model stock.
You've actually had a really busy year, Mason, and a pretty diverse year at that. Between your time in the late models, you've made a couple of K&N Pro Series East starts and a couple of NASCAR Xfinity Series starts as well. Talk a little bit about just kind of bouncing back and forth from car to car and what that experience has been like for you as a young driver. Because I know every time I've seen you at the racetrack this year, you've just been smiling, being able to have some of the opportunities you've had.
Yeah, this year, my year's been full of opportunities nonstop, and sadly, something's on my back, a monkey, or just I have tremendous bad luck this year, and haven't been able to fulfill the opportunities, but I've had opportunities come up all the time, and I've been able to race 2 races in Xfinity Series. We started racing the full-time K&N program, but sadly, that didn't work out the way we wanted to, and it wasn't worth us continuing the year. We're going to hopefully get back out there and race 2 or 3 more K&N Pro Series East races this year and hop back in super late model stocks throughout the year. But the experience I've gained from all those cars is helping no matter what. Being in the seat is the biggest part, and it doesn't matter what car you're in, because being behind the wheel, you're always keep your just up. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but it's just being in the seat allows the rust not to get built up on you. You're always in the car.
I think it's experience counts no matter what you're driving is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually want to pay a nod to the first of your 2 Xfinity races that you ran this year at Richmond, because that was shaping up to be such a good day for you with your qualifying effort starting 16th, and then if not for the engine going bad on you, I just really thought you guys had the speed to contend for a really great finish in that one with Brandon Brown.
Yeah, that race was speed the whole entire weekend by the BMS crew, and I was waiting. It was lap 63 where we blew the engine, and it was right before the segment stage ended. It was like 10 more laps for the segment ended, and the car wasn't that good, so I was waiting for the pit stop so we could adjust it, and we had the speed to be in the top 10 or right around top 10. That's where my goal was, to finish top 10. And I think we would have had it, but due to the motor giving up early, we just nothing else we could do.
What's this experience been like for you, adapting from running the late models like you have the last few years to a bigger car with more power like the Xfinity Series? What kind of changes have you had to make as a driver getting more of that experience on some of the bigger tracks?
Well, the biggest thing is learning about aero and how much throttle control you need to do, and just knowing what your car is capable of doing. And coming from super late models, I've had the prior experience of knowing how much throttle control is given due to the low weights and high horsepower motors. But late model stocks, though, they have a lot more horsepower nowadays, and they're just a heavier car. So that experience really helped me in the K&N series and the Xfinity series, because those cars are really heavy, but they have motor. And so my prior experience has really helped me to be able to drive the Xfinity cars and K&N Pro Series cars as well as I have, because I have been I've been racing for 3 years now, late model stocks, 4 years late model stocks. So my past experience has just helped me so much just to be able to drive the cars.
I'm actually curious and hoping you'll tell the story how the association between you and Brandon Brown and the Brown family came about for this year, because I don't know that I ever heard exactly how you got tied in to drive the 86 car.
Well, it started back in 2012 when my dad went down and saw National Motorsports Park in 2011. He came back home and he contacted Jerry Brown, one of his business partners in the past, and they ended up buying the track together with a third party. And so that's how I've known Brandon Brown since 2011, 2012. It's not prior. He used to race at Old Dominion Speedway, which Steve Britt used to own, and then he built Dominion Raceway. So I used to race at Old Dominion Speedway since I was 4 in go-karts. Steve Britt put on a go-kart races every Sunday after his other races. And so I've known Steve Britt for a while, and Jerry since he raced at Old Dominion, and that's how I was always friends with them. And as soon as I was old enough, we always talked about putting me in a truck, which we did in 2017 at Martinsville. Had a really good run until we blew a left front, and then just carried on from there.
It's a great opportunity for you, and I know that you'd like to be doing more of it. What are your prospects for the rest of this year, or at least for 2020? Is there a chance that we might see you out there more often? Because you certainly have made the most of the opportunity, and we love seeing that for you.
Hopefully there's some in the works right now. We're working on a few races for possibly the end of the season, but most definitely I would like to be back in one for 2020 at least. Another mile and a half. Charlotte was not my best race. A huge learning curve at Charlotte, and it was tremendous experience. I learned a tremendous amount there, but I definitely want to try myself out another mile and a half, whether it's an ARCA or Xfinity Series. I just need to get more experience on mile and a half, because racing on short tracks and racing on mile and a half are completely different. So I really want to try to get back in one 2020 at least, and if one happens this year, it would be amazing.
Talk about that Charlotte experience, if you can, and give us more specifics as to what you feel like you learned and what adjustments that racing on that mile and a half required of you as a driver.
Well, short track racing, the biggest one for me was because I came short track racing and everyone did, but
sure,
for mile and a half, you're on the throttle before you see the straightaway. So just knowing that the car is capable of doing it due to the air is what you have to get past in your mind. Because you're going, Charlotte, you're going 108 miles an hour, and you don't touch the brake unless it's needed to. And so it's just the air holding you on. So it's understanding that your car is capable of doing it, because you're off the gas for a split second, you're right back on it. So just knowing that your car is capable of doing it, getting that in your head, you're good to go. And the biggest learning curve for me was the aero difference, because it was my first time dealing with draft and aero tightness and learning how to pass with the aero, using for your advantage like side draft and using the draft to catch up to cars. I learned a tremendous amount because we started the race, I think, 36, and by lap 50 we were up to 23rd. So I learned a whole bunch in the beginning portions of that race.
That's awesome. Well, I know that you can't do any of this by yourself, and I feel like you've had a lot of people that have contributed to your success so far, so here's an opportunity to give some shout-outs to them.
Of course, first and foremost, Salvador Carrier. She's been with me now since 2017. Kirk Ipot is a tremendous guy, and he just wants the best for everyone in racing, and he's supported me throughout my whole entire career. Same with Prince William Marina. They've been my sponsor since I started racing. They're a marina close by me in Manassas, Virginia. They've been tremendous help for me throughout the whole entire year. The Sign Shop, this is a company my dad owns, but it's what allows me to race. So the Sign Shop is a huge help with us because that's what allows me to. And
sure.
For the late model stock world, I've always had a few other sponsors like Extreme Collision, Car Care, and BST Shocks, which they always help me out with shocks. And I ran this weekend at Dominion with Nelson Motorsports. He also took care of Nelson. And everyone along the way, the fans, everyone's important to my career, and I can't thank everyone enough.
Well, we're happy to have been able to have you on for a few minutes here, and we'd love to have you back again sometime soon when we can talk a little more. I assume we'll be seeing you mostly on the Cars Tour and in other late model events throughout the rest of the year then, unless you get something in the truck?
Yep, I'll be racing July 20th is our National Super Late Model PRA Series. That's my next race as of right now. Real fast, I would like to thank Nelson Motorsports for the great weekend. It was a tremendous weekend. Those guys worked tremendously for me, and it was a great experience, and look forward to doing it again. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mason. We enjoyed having you on. You did a great job. That's Mason Diaz. We're going to step aside when we come back. Much more to go here on Lead Lap Radio, so stick around. Back with more after this.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper cars, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay. Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now. Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
Hi, I'm Dylan Bassett, and you're listening to Race Talk on Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Spark plug. Dylan Bassett bringing us back. I don't know. They used to call him Spark Plug because he was kind of this sort of small little person with this absolutely huge drive, and now he's gotten so much bigger. But I feel like the Spark Plug is still from the drive.
He's still not tall.
Well, he's short, but he's gotten much, shall we say, more muscular.
Something
he's
like
into
the
CrossFit and all that now.
Yeah.
So, but he's still Spark Plug to me. So welcome back to Lead Lap Radio. You may be listening on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network, or you may be watching us on our new home on the web on Twitch. And we appreciate all of you, no matter which way you are taking in the show. We do appreciate you all. We hope that you'll, if you like it, we hope you'll let us know that you like it, and we hope you'll share it so we can make the party bigger every week. We want to talk a little bit about the K&M West race here in this segment because, you know, I always have an issue with this race at Sonoma because it becomes Cup light, and I get why some of the Cup guys want to do it. It's to get more road course experience, i.e.
I was going to say, Ryan
Preece,
and Daniel Hemrick had never even seen Sonoma.
So I get it.
Like I told Brandon Lyons on Twitter the other night, just because I get it doesn't mean I got to like it.
Well, and that's the thing. I always like to see the regulars get the spotlight because if, you know, somebody from the Cup Series goes out and wins the K&M West race, there's no story there whatsoever. As a media person, there's nothing there for me to talk about. I expect him to do it. Preece and Hemrick are examples. Okay, they're trying to get more experience. Well, here's why I brought all that up. Ryan Preece was in great shape to pull off the win the other day. And whether I may have appreciated that or not, being a Cup driver, I would have because, again, rookie and, you know, not a lot of road course experience. Regardless of that, you got to look at that restart, and I just scratched my head. What happened was that he got penalized for jumping the start is basically what took place there. He and Hemrick were the two that ended up on the front row. You clearly could see that Hemrick spun the tires, which is why it looked like Ryan took off like a rocket ship, when in fact it was basically Daniel's mistake. And so Ryan crosses the line. He gets the black flag, but crosses the line and takes the win. But, of course, they took it away from him and gave it to someone else. I'm just, you know, I'm glad for Noah Gragson that he won. I'm happy for Jefferson Pitts because that team works as hard as any team in the sport, and they're all great people, so I'm thrilled that they got the win, but Preece was driving for them as well. So I sort of feel like it would have been in-house one way or another. But I thought that was a terrible call, and it was the end of that race was a complete mess.
Cars
all over the place, spinning, whatever.
Yes.
Just a mess.
By the way, this just in on Twitter.
Hang on.
From Daniel Hemrick.
Oh, well, okay. Then I guess it's not technically breaking news.
It's not breaking news. It's just Daniel commenting on the exact thing we're talking about that happened about 10 minutes ago.
Hopefully he's watching the show.
I don't know if he's watching, but
go ahead.
I'll go
Makes
ahead
us feel
anyways.
better to say that he is.
Quote, okay, let's clear the air here. Ryan Preece by no means jumped the start. I said that in the media center after the race. I couldn't get my car to accelerate like he could. He was penalized for he and his team being on their game. Disappointing call and a win taken from them.
There.
Actually, he used the checkered flag emoji.
So there's the guy who started next to him, Randy. You know, who I mean,
it came from the horse's mouth himself.
Yeah.
By the way, Ryan
I don't
Preece.
know, Daniel, why you call him a horse?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Ryan Preece
he's a nice horse.
Then responds with
Race
the Betty White Golden Girls emoji. Cheers.
I mean, it's an unfortunate...
Or not emoji, GIF.
I
that
know what
thing.
you meant.
It's an unfortunate situation, and obviously NASCAR's not going to change their mind because what's done is done. But it just goes to show you that even NASCAR's not perfect. They make calls based on what they see and at the time they saw it, but then there's no going back because once the race was over, it was already done deal. But
I just was surprised that the last couple of laps of that, like everything just fell completely apart. You had multiple cars and the last lap spun around the course. I mean, it was like everybody just suddenly forgot how to turn and it's like chaos. On the last lap. Yeah, sort of like that.
What's going on right here? It's a perfect example.
It was nuts. But, congrats to Noah Gragson because, one, I think Noah needed that win. I think in a lot of ways that was a good win for Noah. Two, you made a good point earlier. Noah really put Jefferson Pitts on the, I want to call it, national map because it was he who was driving for JPR when they first tried to do the double.
Yes, and just about won a championship.
In both series. Yeah. Both
if
the
it
West and East.
If
for
it
those
wasn't
of
for
you
the rule being in effect that he had to declare for one series at Iowa, he probably could have won at least one of the two championships. As it is, he wasn't able to win either one.
Right. So that was a good win for him. It was a good win for JPR.
Yeah.
But of course, like I said earlier, Priest was driving.
Oh, by the way, Gragson was penalized for the exact same thing earlier in the race, and his response to a fan on Twitter was, quote, "I had the same penalty halfway through the race. Did you watch it? Do your homework next time."
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. I feel like this whole restart issue in the sport in general, not just NASCAR, is partially caused by the stupid fact that somebody somewhere at some point in the past felt like it was a good idea to institute a restart box instead of letting the flagger throw the green to restart the race.
Well, what's
which,
interesting,
by the way,
if you watch the
worked
video,
for decades before.
And if you watch the video back, Priest was moving and the flagman's hand was waving.
Right.
To me, that means go.
Right. But I'm just saying a lot of this controversy comes from, I feel like, and I think that was one of those, I think the restart box is one of those times when somebody tried to fix something that to me was not broke.
Yeah.
I see no reason
but
why.
But I don't even think there was a box rule in effect at Sonoma.
I thought there was.
No, I don't think. I think it's just line you go here.
I thought at Sonoma they had a box, but maybe
I don't think so because they don't have boxes at all the other tracks and they're trying to be consistent.
Regardless of that, I just think it was a silly call, and it was an unfortunate call because it took a win, what could have surely been a win off the board for Ryan.
Easily,
And, he had obviously earned that, but
yes.
Props to Noah.
Shall we also, by the way, discuss the remainder of the normal K&N West field? Because there was some interesting things and chaos.
I figured you would do that. That's
last lap crashes, and there was this little tiff between Jagger Jones and Jim Englebright after the race, which is where I did my best Chris Wright impression when I said, I need the driver, the owner, and the spotter for the 6 and the 1 to the hauler. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
That I just kind of shook my head and moved on. Jagger, you better than that, bud. I know tempers were high. It was a third overtime, but that I just kind of shook my head. Anyway, no, what I wanted to get to was Derek Kraus, who had an awful day, had an electrical issue that dropped him back 3 laps. He raced his way back from 3 laps down to be on the lead lap going into overtime. Had the first 2 runs from like 19th or 20th to 12th revoked because at Sonoma, since we're trying to be consistent across all tracks in the West Series, we can't use all the scoring loops like what they have in the Cup Series.
Right.
We only use the loop at the line because, well, we don't have extra scoring loops anywhere else, which I staunchly disagree with. I think you need to make an exception in the rulebook when you're running at NASCAR National Series tracks where you do use the scoring loops, because the fact that you have to go all the way back to the last completed lap and drop kick a kid from 12th or 13th back to 19th 3 times...
Especially at a track like Sonoma.
Especially at a track like Sonoma.
I don't disagree. If the loops are there,
just bothers. Exactly. There needs to be an addendum in the rule book.
It's still the same for everybody. Everybody's using all the loops.
Exactly. Well,
so
that's exactly my point.
It doesn't, put the race more in favor of any one driver or the other. Everybody's doing the same thing. I think that's silly.
Exactly. But point stands, Derek is the championship leader in both the East and the West right now, albeit not by much. He's got a 4-point lead on Sam Mayer in the East, which does not race again for another month at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And the West Series races again, luckily, this weekend at Douglas County Speedway in Oregon, which has been the site of some barn burner finishes the last couple of years. He's got a 1-point lead right now over teammate Haley Deegan, who is in position here, and actually the top 4 really are in position here because Jagger Jones is only 13 back of Derek Kraus in 4th. So you've got Jagger, Trevor Huddleston, Deegan, and Kraus all in this mix going to a short track where it's gonna be really, really interesting this weekend. I'm looking forward to that battle, and remember what happened the last time Derek Kraus and Haley Deegan were fighting for a win? Yeah.
Well,
prepare to potentially see that rivalry revisited this weekend.
I suspect that...
According to her on NASCAR.com, they're quote-unquote friends again.
Yeah, I assume that at some point there was a package of Oreo double stuffed cookies
and 2 glasses of milk.
A very large jar, container of milk with a couple of glasses that was set in front of the 2 of them by Bill McAnally.
Yeah,
and
had a come-to-Jesus meeting.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term.
Milk and cookies meeting.
Yeah, because when you consider that their biggest competition in the series and the team they try to beat every year, Sunrise Ford, is lurking in 3rd and 4th, only 11 and 13 points back. You do not want to have Bill McAnally Racing give away what I consider a surefire championship for one of those 2 this year because they're focused on taking each other out. So I hope Bill has nipped that in the bud before it gets too serious because those 2 ought to run away.
We're going to step aside. We have 2 segments left in the show. We've got to talk ARCA, NASCAR, Formula
IndyCar.
1, and IndyCar.
Yeah.
And
Buckle
maybe some safety stuff, hopefully, in there as well. So it's going to be a really quick couple of lightning rounds here as we conclude this show. Don't go anywhere. Lead Lap Radio continues, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders of motorsport safety, right after this.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control, and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves a majority of NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schubert helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Olero fireproof underwear, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the staff at HMS is always ready to take the time and help you find the right product for your specific safety needs. You have family and friends who care about you, so don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Just stop in to HMS Motorsport, visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com, or send them a message on Facebook. Tell them the folks from Race Chaser Media sent you.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Brandon McReynolds, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio. Presented by, wow, that was a sudden stop. Presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsports safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. Please do. Safety first. It's important. I'm hoping we get to that. But before we do that, I do want to cover a few other things that went on. First of all, ARCA. There was a Gibbs in victory lane as a driver in an ARCA race. And the first time a Gibbs as a driver has won a national event in quite a while. Ty Gibbs finally getting, I shouldn't say finally, honestly.
He's been a second a lot this year.
He's been close, but again, he's so young. You really wouldn't necessarily expect him to even win this year, but not totally surprising because, again, it's a different kind of an ARCA field this year. But Ty getting the win, he and Sam Mayer had contact, shall we say. They argued over space just a bit on the last lap. Sam saying on his social he was dumped. I don't think Ty would probably agree. But
of course not. Well, Ty didn't agree. His comment was, "It's the last lap. It's fair game."
So there you go. So maybe he did agree, but just said, "I don't really care. I dumped him. It's fair game." But that's the second race in a row where Sam has had the lead late in an event and then ended up not winning.
Right.
So I think obviously he's a little frustrated.
I think it was Salem, the rain-shortened race, was the one I think of recently where he had the lead, and that was just
Well, I was talking about Memphis with the
K&N car, yeah,
Chase,
Chase. Okay,
on the restart.
Going back to Salem, I think Sam had a shot there and just couldn't quite, because.
But he's going to get one before too long. He is. He's definitely there with his GMS racing car.
Well, his Christmas list is getting shorter.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all I got to say to that is unless somebody can show me a different angle than the side shot I saw on Saturday when I was watching the ARCA race, I can't. Much like Haley Deegan, I can't be too excited about this. I get Ty's comment. He's frustrated. He's finished second a lot, hasn't won, wanted a win, but Sam was doing a yeoman's job of holding him off on older tires, much like Chastain was, and to me that just comes down to a driver who was done settling for second and did something about it. Well, and I'm not really, am I happy that Ty Gibbs is in victory lane? Yes. Would I have been a whole lot happier if he didn't just send it and, shoot Sam way out of the groove to win that race? Yeah, because I'm not a big fan of using somebody up on the last corner to get a win. That's just me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but
wait. So when Sam said he was dumped, he was actually dumped this time?
Well, that's the thing about this is obviously, like I said, and I was being tongue-in-cheek for those of you who don't know my humor. But Ty's not going to agree with that.
No.
But Ty kind of did. He just said, "Hey, last lap, fair game." So now everybody knows how to race Ty. Ty's. And I think a lot of this, where you see these kids doing that, they learn by example. And when they see almost every late model race that gets run in the Southeast region, being decided on a last lap dump of whoever's leading the race.
Correct.
And then when they see, the Cup Series guys doing it and being allowed to do it, this has sort of been something that has just been a generational thing. You did not see Richard Petty, David, you didn't see that kind of, they may have door to door, but you did not see just blatant, move the guy out of the way or spin him into the fence, left rear guy.
There was a lot more respect in that era than there is now.
Is that youth aggressiveness, though? Like, is it because of their age and the fact that they are so not, mature enough in their level to be able to know
I don't think it's
to beat and bang without wrecking each other?
I don't think it's just that, Randy, but I do think it's part of the philosophy that we've drilled into these kids' heads that if you can't win races and make it by the time you're 18, you're not going to make it.
Well, and that's part of it, too.
We need to change the philosophy here.
Yeah, I think it's
at the end of the day, that's
thing.
the problem.
Yeah, I think it's a culture thing in stock car racing that's developed. Sort of like this idea that we have to push each other around the racetrack on super speedways, which came from go-karts, two-cycle go-karts. You just get a bad sometimes it just develops over time. And I agree. I'm not a big – look, I always said it takes no talent to use a bumper.
Right.
There's no skill involved in that. And
same thing I said about Haley Deegan a couple weeks ago.
That's just – I don't believe there's any skill involved in using a bumper. So – but, congratulations to Ty. I feel bad for Sam.
Who hung on to finish third, by the way.
He did, and like I said, Sam's time is coming.
Yes, and the guy who's gotten absolutely no love in the wake of the whole Ty Gibbs-Sam Mayer thing that really should have been, because he had a great day in the points and is slowly marching as his teammate Michael Self has issues, finally. I don't think Michael's saying finally, but we've been waiting for the bubble to burst all year, and I feel like it's bursting a little bit after the transmission issue that took him out at Gateway. But Christian Eckes with a runner-up finish, and after the food poisoning thing that took him out of being able to start Salem, he's coming with a vengeance. And this championship battle is not over yet. When I look at the points and consider that we still have, let me find it to make sure I tell everybody right, because racing.
So he finished second twice? He finished second in the Canyon race and second in the truck race?
No, he should have been second in the truck race until Stuart,
that's right. He did.
Until Stuart Friesen happened. We'll get to that.
Stuart dumped him.
He got
I forgot about
Friesen
again, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I forgot about that.
So the fact that we are now, I think, officially halfway through the ARCA season, 10 or 11 races in here, 11 races in, so we're 9 races to go. And we have 4 drivers within 65 points. For those who's wondering, at 5 points a position on the ARCA scale, that is 13 positions on the racetrack. You got 4 guys within 13 positions on the racetrack. This is going to be a down to the wire. Maybe the first down-to-the-wire ARCA championship we've had in a long time.
It'll be interesting to say
I'm excited about it, for sure.
This is the youngest crop of ARCA racers that, by and large, that I think we've ever had in the series. It's really become a true youth series this year. Michael Self, the most notable exception.
Not just Michael, but Travis Braden, too, who's
mid-20s, but yeah.
Mid to later.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that the bumping is not over.
It's not.
Well, exactly.
You're right.
That's just
it's only going to get worse as those guys get later on in the season. They're still
so
13
I want to keep moving here because we've got 5 minutes left in this segment. So next, IndyCar. This shouldn't take too long.
Was this a Formula One race or an IndyCar race?
Well, I was trying to debate on the scale of 1 to 10, which was lower this week for me, the Formula One or the IndyCar race, and I decided that they were both about equal, too.
I was going to say, and for me, actually, I would give the Rev Group Grand Prix a higher number, not for the battle for the lead, but for some of the incredible scraps that they had back in the field. I mean, yes, it was an absolute snoozer up front because Alexander Rossi came out and brought an AK-47 to a knife fight.
Yeah.
There was nothing even close to that car. He should have led all 55 laps. The only reason he didn't is because Graham Rahal stayed out 1 lap longer on the last pit cycle to lead lap 42. But he won by 28.4 seconds over Will Power.
He's still turning laps because he still thinks the race is going on.
It was the same deal Joseph Newgarden pulled. What was the first race at Belle Isle, I think, when he won by about a day and a half? Was that where it was, at Belle Isle?
It might have been, yeah.
Over Rossi. I mean, the thing for me is I don't, I understand there's a lot of stuff going on in the back of the pack, and I'm not saying stop racing around America. I'm just saying this particular race wasn't really that much of a race, and congrats to Rossi. I feel like this was Alex Rossi saying, sort of like Chastain, I'm winning this time. I'm done finishing second.
Well, yeah, he had finished second 3 times in the last 4 races, so now he's within 7 points in the championship. But when you look further back, Scott Dixon gets spun in turn 5 on the first lap. He was 23rd at that point. Drives his tail back through the field and gets a top 5 finish. Keeps his champion, even if they're a little slimmer, keeps his championship hopes alive. Felix Rosenquist, 18th to 6th. Chip Ganassi Racing had a great day, and nobody was talking about them because Alex Rossi just smoked the field. Colton Herta, youngest pole sitter now in IndyCar history, gets a top 10. Should have been maybe a top 5 if not for the fact his tires were just obliterated at the end of that race. There was no hanging on to that 88 car. But Colton, to me, put on a great drive. This race was full of stories that nobody's talking about because Alex Rossi just said, see me? Yeah, I did that.
See me? Not anymore.
Will Power's joke. Well, I don't think it was a joke. He literally said, I never saw Alex.
Like they threw the Greenwood gown.
Yeah.
Okay. Formula One, we got about a minute and a half left in the segment. Shouldn't need much more than that. This series has quickly become Lewis Hamilton. He's not going to lose the rest of the year.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
I'm telling you, not going to happen. Or at least if he loses, it's to Bottas. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's Formula Lewis.
It's Formula Mercedes.
Yeah, pretty much.
What it is.
Lewis has been beaten by Valtteri twice this year, and I do believe there's a couple of tracks that will suit Valtteri coming up. But the fact that Lewis has won 6 of the first 8 races and got off to what I call, without a doubt, the best start to any season in his entire career. He is primed for a 6th championship this year, and quite frankly, still with 13 races to go. Now, let's be clear here. With 13 races to go, if, God forbid, your theory comes up true, and that's, Lewis not being beaten by Valtteri or blowing parts or blowing a motor or something bizarre happening the rest of the year. But if he were to win out, recognize what that would do. That would put him ahead of Michael Schumacher by 1 for most wins all time. And to me, that's sobering to think about. There's not somebody that's won that many races in a year in a ever.
F1 needs work. It's a high-speed parade right now. We'll be back with more of Lead Lap Radio. The real lightning round comes up next. It'll be interesting. Stick around.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
Here at Lewis Meineke, we're more than just your average car care center. Hey, it's Dave, your neighbor from Lewis Meineke. Whether you need an oil change, brakes, tires, or anything under the hood, we've got you covered. Take advantage of our free check engine light service as well. Yes, free. And don't forget about our free shuttle service. Never stress, we'll take care of the rest. On with life. Give us a call at Lewis Meineke, 302-827-2054.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up! You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem, and no excuses. Because it's not rocket science, it's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu, that's mycomputercareer.edu.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearms storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Matt Tift, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio. It's the Lead Lap Lightning Round. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, Randy Miller, Chris Burdock. Final segment of the show that makes it our lightning round, and Justin Sullivan in our chat asked an interesting question that I think we should address real quick here. We were talking about using the bumper to win, and none of us are real excited about that. Justin says, but what if they're blocking you? Do you have to use the bumper then? Here's my response to that. If they're coming across your nose and you have to lift, okay, then move them. If your definition of blocking is them pulling down in front of you, as in what we see on a lot of the super speedways, not blocking.
Slingshot.
I don't buy this whole block. We've made blocking into this broad category that it shouldn't be. If you're having to lift all the time because they're slower and they're holding you up, then move them out of the way. But if the leader's the leader. End of discussion. I mean, I'm not a fan of, you don't see sprint cars, you don't see super modifieds, you don't see, late model cars, you don't see people moving people like that in these other divisions. That's my 2 cents on that. With that, we move along because we've got an HRA to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Real quick. We're going to go through these quickly. But Steve Torrance momentarily let somebody else have the fun a week
a week ago, yeah. And he let the one driver have the fun that I think has potential to beat him down the stretch, because Mike Salinas and Alan Johnson are the pairing that I look at to go toe-to-toe with the Capco boys, but the Capco boys are back.
Well,
6th win in the last 7 races.
4 rounds to get the win over the weekend, and I just can't.
I love it.
I don't understand.
Well, I do. It's called when you're good, you're good. It's the same thing.
But it's not that these other guys aren't good.
No, it's just that right now Steve Torrance and Richard Hogan have hit on something, much like Tony Schumacher and the Army Boys hit on something in the early 2000s when they were just knockout every time. Every time that car went down the racetrack. It's the same thing. It's the same thing when in NASCAR when Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus were hitting on everything. Everything right. Sometimes in racing, everything just goes your way for a little while.
It just seems so much harder, though.
It is. Well, there are a lot of variables, but when you find consistency and when you can get into a rhythm and do what Steve is doing right now, it makes it extremely impressive. He's won 6 of the last 7. And really hitting their stride. You've got Bob Tasca, who beat John Force 2 weeks in a row, by the way, and is going to his home race. Oh, by the way, looking for a 3rd straight win. I was really happy Pro Stock was back. Chris McGahey picking up the win and kind of reestablishing some parity in Pro Stock this year. And Andrew Hines and the Harley Davidson boys just continuing to do what they do. They've had 7 races this year, 5 wins by Andrew already. If Eddie Krawick can ever figure out that street rod, then look
exactly.
out. But Andrew right now is the man.
Troy Coughlin in Top Alcohol.
Top Alcohol. Yeah, that was a great run for Troy, too. And at their home track, that's a big, big, big deal for Jegs.
For sure. Okay. Moving along, we haven't talked about NASCAR yet. And look, not a lot to talk about when it comes to Sonoma on Sunday, per se, because I thought it was one of the least entertaining road course races I've seen in a while, and I was disappointed.
Got it right.
Yeah, it was a snoozer. However, Matt DiBenedetto.
We did mention that earlier.
Can we put that out one more time?
One more time, because home state boy makes good and flat drove his butt off to a 4th place. When you run Kevin Harvick down from 8 seconds back, you've got my attention. They got my attention, and I told you that once the 95 team got their feet underneath that, got their bearings, got their feet underneath them, that team was going to have some speed. I told you. You didn't believe me.
I still don't. It's a road course. Show me something on 1.5 miles besides 15th, and I'll be impressed.
They're
run on the road course.
They're gladly working on it, and DiBenedetto said they have made, has said they've made some upgrades recently in their 1.5 mile program. The problem is we don't have another 1.5 miles for like 2 months.
Okay,
so,
but like I said, road course is different. And,
but when you see a
race.
guy sitting on the pit
wall,
wall. Thank you. I couldn't think of what that stupid white thing was called that goes from the beginning of the end.
Blank.
You got there.
I feel like I hit the thing. But anyway, when you see a guy sitting on it, and he's nearly in tears when he's talking about how good of a job 4th place is for him.
I love it.
Well,
that is
finish.
Just amazing.
Career
How
day
can you
for
not
him,
like the guy?
Career day for the team. I mean,
Martin Truex won. By the way.
By the way,
surprise.
Martin Truex won for the 2nd time in a row, 3rd time overall at Sonoma, and on the weekend when Toyota Racing Development celebrated their 40th anniversary, 4 Gibbs I count the 95 in this. 4 Gibbs Toyotas in the top 5, 5 in the top 8. Hell of a way to do what they, hell of a way to celebrate and do what you did, Toyota. And props to you.
And honestly, for me, a rather embarrassing outing, especially for Ford, but Chevy as well. I mean, they just didn't. Neither of them really ever showed up in the race contending.
The problem is a lot of those teams had to be focused on stage points because they're thinking playoffs right now. They couldn't do what some of the other cars who have already won races this year could do in playing the strategy to focus on the final stage and worry about the win. They had to worry about counting points. That's why you never saw William Byron up front at the end of the race. They had to worry about stage points and did a nice job of it too. By the way, won his first Cup Series stage.
And he was basically the bright spot, I thought. I mean, Bowman did okay. Jimmy Johnson was okay.
Johnson was running 5th until DiBenedetto passed him at the end.
I mean, he finished 6th. He did okay. Elliott was running well until he blew up. But Larson didn't show up. Kurt Busch really didn't.
Larson never shows up in a Sonoma race.
Yeah, it's just
on Friday and Saturday
he's good at winning K&N, but he can't win the Cup race.
Well, no, he wins the pole every year, but he can't figure out how to win the race.
But just not a great. Dylan wasn't great. I mean, Hemrick wasn't great. No, it just was to me. Chevy, Ford, not. Again, it was a Toyota domination there. So
the one thing that's impressive though about Martin Truex is the fact that he's won Sonoma 3 times with 3 different race teams.
I thought about that on Sunday after it was over. He got his first win a few years back with MWR, did it with Furniture Row last year, and now done with Joe Gibbs Racing this year. I did actually think about that on Sunday after he won. It's like, well, dang. It doesn't matter where Truex goes, he wins Sonoma.
DW.
And
DW,
how cool a day was this on Sunday to see, and really the whole weekend, to see all the tributes, all the gifts, all the things that the letter the letter that Stevie wrote to Daryl got to me. I was close to crying when they read that on the air.
That was cool.
The
You
grid
pulled
walk,
the man to Benedetto.
yeah, the grid walk that he did with Michael, I thought was very tastefully done, especially with focusing on some of the throwback cars that different teams ran for Daryl. The last boogity wasn't a goodbye. It was just letting Daryl do his thing one more time. And personally, for me, I thought it was a really fitting touch by Eric Shanks and everybody at Fox Sports to bring Larry McReynolds to the racetrack and have the original Dream Team together one more time on Sunday. I loved that. The three of them, Mike, Larry, and Daryl, have obviously been friends since they were brought together in 01, and it was just the dynamic all day was, let's just go out and have fun one more time, and I felt like it was one of the better Fox broadcasts all the way around. They did a great job paying a nod to everything that DW's done for the sport, and I might not have said this a few weeks ago, but gosh, now that it's over, I think I am going to miss DW a little bit when we get back around to Daytona in 2020.
I said I said on my Facebook wall yesterday that the Fox broadcasts will never be the same for me.
Right.
And that's just, I don't care who replaces him, if anybody, and the two-man booth for me is kind of I don't know if that's going to be good or not, but
if they do that.
But for me, not going to be the same. I'm going to miss the humor and the passion and the fun that Daryl always brought to the broadcasts, and they're going to have a hard time replicating that combination. And everybody can say what they want about his style, but that style, a lot of people emulated that. And,
real quickly, I do want to make an additional point here to all this that I've kind of been thinking about ever since the press conference at Bristol. But 47 years in the sport, yes, it's never going to be the same. But God bless DW for being able to A, go out on his terms, and B, make it very clear that his next project, at least for a while, he's not going to be avoiding the racetrack by any means, but he wants to go be a grandpa because he didn't get to, be
a daddy the way that he would have liked
when
to
his
have
daughters
been.
were growing up. So.
Well, and actually my favorite DW quote from the weekend didn't even happen on the broadcast. It happened at the drivers' meeting when he said, he said, there was a time when I was the show, then I became part of the show, and for me, now the show is over, but the show will go on, and I will be watching.
I love
and
that.
I just thought that was totally,
Absolutely.
Appropriate, and definitely going to miss DW terribly. I thought the whole weekend was very tastefully done, and,
for sure,
and a lot of fun comments, quotes, memories, all of that good stuff. So
yes, 100%.
Yes. Okay. So didn't really get into the truck race itself too much other than Chastain winning.
Well, and I just want to make it a point to salute the call that Phil Gould made to keep to go fuel only on the final pit stop. There wasn't a ton, other than the pit strategy in the last stage, there really wasn't a lot of chaos in that race at Gateway. Also, 10 p.m. East Coast time is way too late to be starting a truck race.
Thank you.
Dear FS1, please fix that going forward.
I thought it was a tape delayed race for a minute because I kept looking at the channel guide and I'm like, 9 p.m.
Golly, Bill.
No, dear FS1, please find a way to fix that going forward.
Don't do that anymore.
Ross Chastain being a wheelman, and as soon as he gets to the top 20 in points, and he will, oh, by the way, then you talk about KBM hitting the big red panic button because once Ross Chastain is in, that bumps Harrison Burton out. Todd Gilliland is already out. One of those or both of those two are going to have to do something really special here before we get soon before we get to the playoffs, because otherwise we could be potentially looking at the first time KBM hasn't had a representative going for the Drivers' Championship since like Matt Crafton was winning
I
titles.
was going to say in a long time.
Yes.
So
Was
yeah,
anybody else nervous whenever Ross won, thinking, "Oh my Lord, is this really going to happen again?"
No, all I
No.
said was, okay,
No.
he won. Get ready for the shortest post-race tech ever.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It wasn't quite the shortest
I
post-race
was
tech
gonna
ever.
say, I don't
But
think
when
it-
Phil Gould posted the picture of him standing next to the height sticks and giving a thumbs up, I said, "Oh, they passed heights. They're good now."
Yeah. There was little doubt in my mind that
Yeah.
they would pass tech, and,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know, this was going to stick. And so now I feel like the rest is just waiting for him to get to the
Yes.
top 20. We know he's going to finish there.
Yes, he's only 40-something points out. You can
38,
make that
to be
30, yeah, you can make that up in one race, basically.
Yeah. So and I still don't believe he's done winning either. So
Nope.
we'll see where that takes us.
Chicago
We go
this
to
weekend.
Chicago, and
Hello.
that's his kind of
Yeah,
track,
by the
so.
way, newsflash, quadruple header this weekend. Thursday ARCA, Friday Trucks, Saturday Xfinity, Sunday Cup. Yes, please.
Okay, so stay tuned. Lots of racing this week.
Yes, do it.
And it should be a lot of fun. We didn't have time to get into the safety issue with enough time to really talk about it. So I'm going to table that for next week's show, and we'll talk about safety, and hopefully maybe we'll get somebody from HMS to come in and talk about it as well, because we had some fires over the weekend and some crashes that we really want to kind of bring out, not because the drivers involved were doing anything wrong, but because it illustrated why you shouldn't lack for safety, because even with all of the safety equipment being right, still Vern Lefebvre at Oswego ended up with burns on his arms and hands that are going to require some skin grafting this week. So we wish Vern all the best, wish him well, and we'll kind of get into more of that discussion on next Monday's lead lap.
You're looking at me. Is it time to go?
It's just about time to go. Yeah.
I hate
Sadly.
that because there's so much more, like you said, there's so much more to talk about that we have to table. I hate that we only have 2 hours. However, we do want to say thank you to our partners that help make this show possible. Of course, our presenting partner, HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, as well as mycomputercareer.edu, training for a better life, and strutmasters.com for everything that they all do to make this show possible and all of our shows on Race Chaser Radio possible. So right now, for Tom Baker, Randy Miller, and Chris Murdoch behind the glass, I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding you to keep it off the wall. And if you're headed to a racetrack later this week or this weekend, we might just see you there. Have a safe racing weekend. Good night.
You've been listening to Lead Lap Radio, powered by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. Lead Lap Radio is a Race Chaser Media production. For more exciting and passionate motorsport content, follow Race Chaser Media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and visit racechasermedia.com. The opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff, management, affiliates, or marketing partners of Race Chaser Media. No part of the show may be reproduced in any manner without the expressed written consent of Race Chaser Media. Thank you for listening.